I'm Haley, coming to you from the Charlotte area. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as at guavacolorworks. Welcome to the 6th episode of the Fruit and Fiber podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with me and to share the projects that you're working on too. Okay, so first things first, I have a lot of things to talk about because I obviously haven't podcasted in like 3 months. I think the last episode was at the beginning of January and we are now coming up on April, but as I'll talk about at the end of the episode, a lot has changed for me and my husband in the past couple of months, so that's the reason there was a hiatus. But first things I want to show you guys are some stash acquisitions. So even before, everything kind of with coronavirus really hit us here in the United States, I had a couple projects that I wanted to work on. So I had already ordered one sweater quantity's worth of yarn, and then Brooklyn Tweed so graciously offered what they're calling their Apart Together initiative, which is empowering their customers to purchase yarn at a discount while also donating a proceeds of the purchase to the local yarn shop of their choice. Or if they're ordering from the local yarn shop, if that shop is offering a discount, then Brooklyn Tweed is refunding them the difference, which is super amazing to support small business during this time, especially since their lifeblood is their brick and mortar store where people can come in and take classes and that kind of thing, and so obviously that's not possible during this time. So highly encourage you, if you are wanting to try Brooklyn Tweed yarn for the first time like I was, to jump in and take part in this initiative. So first things first, before all of that, I was planning on making the Bodhi Cardigan. This was one of my make 9 items. So I had, kind of searched around. I'd ordered some yarn on Blueprint that didn't end up being the color that I wanted it to be. It was more of like a steel gray, whereas I wanted something a little bit lighter, a little bit more kind of warm and neutral. So what I ended up finding was Malabrigo Rios in their pearl colorway, and this is so pretty. You can see, I just think it looks nicer. It's a lot lighter in terms of like the shade of gray that it is. It has kind of like a neutral taupey undertone, and I would say it even looks purpley sometimes in certain lights. So I am super happy with this. It is super squishy, super soft, and just overall really, really nice to work with. So that was my first stash acquisition. I think I bought like 9 skeins of this. Next up are my Brooklyn Tweed yarns. So the first thing that, the first sweater quantity, 1 of 3, is in their Arbor DK base, which is a 100% American Targhee, I think that's how you say it, Targhee wool. It's very round, it's very springy, it's really good for good stitch definition, that kind of thing. And I got these in the Potion colorway and the Cobbler colorway, with the intention of marling the two together, which I will tell you about my misadventures about with that in a few minutes. So yes, those are the Arbor yarns. Okay, the next up, I got 4 years of their Loft, which is their tweedy, more rustic fingering weight yarn. And the first color, and I apologize, I'm picking like hair and stuff off this because I'm sitting on the floor right now. We are in a new house, obviously, as I'll talk about a little later, and my lighting setup is a bit better, but my seating setup is not great yet. But anyway, so the Loft yarn that I got so far is a beautiful navy color. It has like flecks of light blue, it has flecks of red, it's really gorgeous, and this is their Old World colorway, and this is Targhee Columbia wool, but all American farmed and American spun. Second colorway is Button Jar, which is like a beautiful rich emerald green with, again, like little flecks of like light blue. There's some yellows in there. It's gorgeous. And then I got 2 neutrals as well. So this first one is the Barn Owl colorway. It's a nice like medium taupey tan with cream flecked throughout. And then Truffle Hunt, which is a dark kind of grungy brown gray with, again, with cream And there's even some like blue in there too. I don't know if you guys can see that. So all really nice. This is a little bit more rustic. The Malabrigo Rios is very, very smooth, very soft to the touch. These ones are going to be a lot warmer because I think they're woolen spun, but they're also going to be a little bit harder on your hands. So if you do want to buy it, just be aware. So yeah, so those are all of my stash acquisitions, and I'm very happy to have them and to try Brooklyn Tweed because I've been wanting to for so long. Okay, so then as far as finished objects, the first one is one that I had talked about on the podcast, many months ago. Should have been finished, started, finished, and given as a gift for Christmas. Obviously that did not happen. We are now many months removed from Christmas, but I did finish it. I just need to mail this classic ribbed hat to my middle brother as an extremely belated Christmas present. So this is, like I said, the classic ribbed hat by Pearl Soho. I used Lion brand Heartland Tweed in the Kings Canyon colorway. I will say though, so I'm really bad about swatching. As in, I never swatch. So I kind of wing it. So this was like a worsted weight yarn. I think the pattern actually calls for DK. So I went down, I don't remember how many needle sizes, or maybe I didn't go down a needle size. I think I just went down a size. Like instead of making the adult large hat, I think I went and made like the junior hat. So I cast on fewer stitches basically. I think I kind of underestimated how many stitches I would need, so it's going to be a little bit small. So what I'm going to do, because you'll be able to see, I'm going to send him my hat too. This is one that I had made out of my own hand-dyed yarn back in like October or November, because I don't want to send him a hat that he can't wear. I'm hoping that he'll be able to wear it, but if not, then at least he'll have one hat, and if so, then he'll have two hats. But you can kind of see here that this one is definitely bigger. Again, ribbing has stretch, so it's not like, it's not like this is the size. It's going to stretch to at least this size, but I still feel like it might be a little tight for him, so we'll see. So that's finished object number 1. And then finished object number 2 are these adorable little infant mittens. So Autumn, who is Ginkgo Bee on Instagram and Ravelry, she had posted a couple months ago, I'll show you guys again. She posted a couple months ago that she had made a bunch of these and put them on her Etsy shop for sale, and I thought they were adorable. I commented and I was like, hey, do you have a pattern for this? I have lots of mamas in my life and I'd love to make some. So she didn't have a pattern written at that time, but she contacted me just last week, I believe, and said that she had the pattern ready and would I like a copy. So I actually offered to test knit it to kind of give any feedback, which was really cool. So that was my first test knitting experience. And I highly recommend these. They're so cute, so fast, and would just be a great little gift for any babies in your life. And I made these out of the scraps from my Guernsey Triangle, which was in my Earnest colorway on the, I don't remember, the fig base, which is like a really soft, nice merino cashmere nylon base. So yeah, super fast, super fun. I'm working on another pair, which I'll show you guys in a few minutes. And that's it. These are all my finished objects for the past 3 months because I cast on a bunch of new stuff and I'm not going to be sad about it or apologize for it. Instead, what I will do is I will show you all of the whips because that is going to be the bulk of the episode. Okay, so the first thing is the Guernsey Triangle. So, you guys, if you're thinking, oh, that should be a finished object by now, Haley, you're right. And I am finished knitting it. You can see I am finished knitting it. I just have not blocked it yet. I have not woven in any ends. I have not done Kitchener stitch on these like 6 stitches, which again should take 0.2 seconds to seam up that edge and make one smooth continuous top edge. I just haven't done it yet. Finished this back in, I think I finished this in February when we were still living in like temporary housing. And at the time, like I didn't have any space to, pin everything out to block it because we were staying in like an apartment, a very small apartment. And then we moved here. I just, haven't gotten around to it. We still have some boxes laying around and that kind of thing. But that's all excuses. I really just need to do it. So I will at some point. But as you can see, it's really beautiful. Look at the texture. It's gorgeous. Show you guys, yeah. Highly recommend. So like I said, this is the Guernsey Triangle. This is by Jared Flood, who is the founder of Brooklyn Tweed. His patterns, or any Brooklyn Tweed patterns, really, like, that's what got me into knitting, or like being a serious knitter. I think I mentioned this maybe in the first episode. I made a really like simple garter stitch scarf that I tried to do like some striping and color blocking, and it was just kind of a mess. And so then my brain was like, oh, well, let's just see, like, I didn't know about Ravelry at the time, and I was like, let me just Google knitting patterns. And Brooklyn Tweed was established at the time, or like well established at the time rather. And I found their Aquina wrap, and I decided that's what I was gonna make. So I made this monster 7-foot long cabled beast of a wrap, and that wasn't the first project that I ever finished, but that was like the next thing that I cast on as a beginner knitter, because who doesn't love a crazy challenge? All that to say, Brooklyn Tweed has a very special place in my heart. I love their patterns. I'm excited to try their yarn, and basically just go check them out, especially during this time. So yes, going to block this at some point, hopefully for next week, so I can show you guys on the podcast. I want to get back to doing these on a weekly basis. Work has just kind of been a little bit insane, and this week was kind of a turning point in terms of just the mental capacity that I had, or that I felt like I could, spend enough time and quality time to kind of put together a podcast for everybody. So yes, so this is my first whip. My second whip is, again, another one. If you guys are thinking, oh, have you finished your Soldotna Crop yet? The answer is no. But here's where I am. Okay. So I think I had finished this sleeve on the last episode of the podcast. I don't remember. But you can see I finished the sleeve. I'm super happy with how it turned out. Oh my goodness, my arm looks so long. And I am now working on the second sleeve. So got my magic loop going. Hopefully should finish this soon. I just have been so distracted with all the new whips and all the fresh creativity, that I haven't given this one some love, and it's a shame because, now it's like 87 degrees outside, and I'm definitely not gonna be able to wear it right now, but that's okay. So yeah. So I need to finish the sleeve, and then I need to finish the body too. Excuse me. At the time when I was knitting on the body, I, for whatever reason, just got so excited to start on the sleeves, and I was like, I'm gonna conquer Sleeve Island. And I cast on the sleeve, and I started working, and then clearly I got second sleeve syndrome, and am now like half a sleeve behind and the rest of the body behind. So whatever, it's fine. Also, I just want to say too, like, I am really happy with the new knitting setup, or not the new knitting setup, the new recording setup. I'm just so happy to have, like, there's like a giant, massive, window in front of me, and I feel like the colors really show a lot truer than they did previously, because I had like a window coming in on the left side. So I feel like I'm just happy because this color in particular, I feel like has been showing up as blue, or honestly sometimes even my pictures like turquoise, and it's not. It's definitely a lavender. So I'm just happy that, I don't know, I'm just happy that things are showing up a little bit better color wise. So yeah, so that's the Soldotna Crop. Hopefully gonna finish it soon. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Okay, so then my next one is the Bodhi Cardigan, which I talked about a little bit earlier. This is a pattern by Elizabeth Doherty, and this is using the Malabrigo Rios in the Pearl colorway. So you can kind of see I have finished the front panels, and I've finished the back panel. This is like a star crest motif, a purled welt, and a like horizontal, or not, it's not, diagonal stripe motif. So I finished the front panels, and I finished the back panel. I'll just hold it up like this. And what I will end up doing, and it's the part that I'm at right now, and I just got distracted with, again, shiny new cast-ons, is I'll seam these together, or I'll like start stitching these together to form this armhole, and then work the body straight down. So it won't, like, it'll still be like knit flat because it's like cardigan and not a sweater, but at least all of this will be like a cohesive piece now. So I just need to buckle down and get to that part. But yeah, I am really happy with the way this is turning out. It's nice because it's a worsted weight. I don't usually work with a lot of worsted weight stuff, so it's knitting up very quickly, which is very rewarding. So yeah, that's the Bodhi cardigan. And then my, like I said, I'm working on another pair of infant mittens. I'll show you guys. I just have one tiny adorable cuff knit right now. Look how cute that is. Just one little cuff on the first mitten, just making a second mitten. So yeah, again, highly recommend. I will link to all the patterns in the show notes. If you want to make any of these projects, I hope you will, and I hope you will tag me in your progress. It's super exciting, it's super fun, especially when, you know, people are like making the same pattern that you are, and you're like, oh, like how far are you? Oh, what part are you at? That's kind of, it's really cool. And then my last and most wild ride of a project right now is the Carbeth sweater, which is by Kate Davies. And as I talked about before, I am trying to marl these yarns together. Genuinely, I thought it would be as easy as just holding the two strands together and it would just be this beautiful, wonderful, random, speckled, marled pattern. But what I've realized is that that is not the case. So I am on the third attempt to try to get my desired marl effect. And I will walk you guys through all 3 iterations so far. So the first one, when I was just like, oh, you just hold 2 strands together and it's great, is this. So I caked up both of the yarns holding both yarns together. I put them both on my Swift and I just wound them onto the ball at the same time, the ball under at the same time. So basically, again, you're just holding 2 strands together. This is the same thing as if you had 2 separate cakes and you just held a strand from each. It's the same effect. And it looks okay when, in this ribbing section, you know, you get a little bit of variety, but when you get up to stockinette, which is the majority of the sweater, it creates a striping effect, which I am not a fan of. It's not what I wanted at all. And the reason for that is because the individual strands aren't twisted together. So one is just becoming dominant. One color is just becoming dominant over the other color for a long stretch of time because there's no twist in these 2 strands. So recognizing that, I'm like, okay, well, that's not working. Let me try something else. And so I did a Google search and someone was showing this process where they had this self-striping yarn. They were pulling 1 strand from the center and 1 strand from the side, which points were 2 different colors. And what that was doing is, I'll show you guys. So you see here, you have 1 strand from the center, 1 strand from the side, and what that does is it does cause the, it's kind of hard to see, sorry guys. It does cause this outside yarn to kind of twist around the center yarn. So I was like, okay, perfect. Caked up potion in the middle, then caked up cobbler on the outside to hopefully create this effect myself. Still not quite what I wanted. So you can see it's a little better. I did a little bit of variation, but there's still large striping sections. And I just don't like the look of it. It's called pooling, or I think I've heard it called flashing too, although I don't know if those are the same thing or not. And some people really like it, and it's just not a look that I prefer. So back to the drawing board. I was like, okay, in an ideal world, these 2 yarns would be spun together. Like you'd ply them together basically and create 1 strand of yarn. I don't have a spinning wheel. So what I did was I got my drop spindle. I almost just hit myself in the face with the drop spindle. I don't know if you guys caught that. I got my and I started very poorly applying the two yarns together. And what that resulted in is this curly mess, but I think this is working. And I should have knit a little bit more so you guys could see better, because I'm sure it's going to be so hard to see. So I can barely see. So what you can kind of tell is like, you see like in these stitches, like one leg will be the dark purple color and one leg will be the magenta color. And that's really what you want it to be. You don't necessarily want like a whole stitch to be one color. You want it to be a variety of colors, and you definitely don't want multiple stitches of one color and then multiple stitches of another color, because that's what causes the striping pooling effect. So I think this is working. Honestly, I feel pretty extra for doing this because why? Because why am I doing this to myself? So literally I've only been able to drop spindle like maybe like half of a skein at a time, which seems very inefficient. I mean, in fact, it is very inefficient. But, you know, if it's achieving the look that I want, it's my project. I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm not doing this on a time crunch. So I think it's fine. I'm going to keep doing it. Unless, you know, I come back next week and I've ripped it out and I've been like, you guys, you know what? It's done. And at that point, I may just order some more of the potion color. This is like my all-time favorite color in the world, as you can probably see, because I have it like, this is the color of like my intro, you know, little icons, and you know, I have this incorporated in my labels when I was doing yarn. All-time favorite. So if worst comes to worst, I will just order 4 more skeins of this and hold it double, you know, with the same color, and create the Carbeth sweater out of that. But I really hope this works. We'll see. It looks pretty good so far. So yeah, that is the Carbeth sweater. I hope you enjoyed my misadventures. If you have any recommendations on how to marl in an easier fashion than drop spindling 2 yarns that you bought together, let me know, please. I really need the help. Okay, so that is all of my works in progress right now. I also have another segment that I want to do. It's probably not going to be an every week segment, but since I, you know, have had a lot of time, you know, kind of to think, and we've been getting moved, and, you know, kind of thinking about like, all right, well, like, am I going to wear these items, or am I going to finish these items? You know, I want to try to be, you know, I don't want to be wasteful with the yarn that I have. Like, I want to, you know, make sure that it's being used properly. Believe it or not, you know, all of this aside, and I have like 2 more shelves, I really try not to buy yarn unless I have a project for it. You know, that doesn't always happen, but if I have something that I'm not going to wear, if I have something that I'm not going to finish, I'd rather just repurpose it. Despite, you know, putting the time and the effort into having initially knitted it. So, all that to say, these are the projects. These are just a few of the projects that I'm going to frog, as you call it in the knitter's world, and use the yarn for another project. Some of the projects are TBD. So the first one is one that I have never shown off on the podcast before. I think in like fall of 2018. This is the Shrug. It is a brioche. It's basically like a giant shawl with just some little sleeves at the end. And this was my first ever garment that I knit. So it's just a simple, or it's not simple, but it's, you know, it's just a brioche, and so you start at the top and you like do all these increases, and then you add on the sleeves. And I used a single ply yarn. I was also newly trying to dye yarn at the time, and so the colors didn't turn out quite the way I wanted them to either. So all of that to say, it doesn't really fit me. The sleeves especially are so small, and when I was blocking them, like, I realized how small they were at the time, and when I was blocking them, I put a cup in the end of the sleeve to try to stretch the sleeve, and it just really didn't help. And honestly, a more experienced knitter than I could snip this, rip it all back, redo the sleeves, and not have a problem. I have never done that yet, or like I've never done anything like that yet, where you just like, you're like, this isn't working, and you just like cut out a whole chunk of the knitting and start over. It kind of blows my mind. I'm sure there's plenty of resources on how to do it, and I need to learn at some point, but not yet. But also it's just not my style. It's way too bright compared to the other stuff that I love. As I said, this is my favorite color. Anything that's in this dark jewel tone range is my go-to. This is a little bit bright for me, so I would rather rip it out, you know, maybe over dye the yarn and use it for another project because it is so incredibly soft. It's, like I said, single ply, merino, cushy. So yes, and I don't know, we'll see. I may film myself frogging this. If you're not a knitter, if you're like one of my friends or family that's watching this and you're not a knitter, feel free to skip that one. It's probably gonna be super boring. But if you are a knitter, I feel like watching things get frogged is a little bit therapeutic. Like, I'll show you guys. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe no one will watch that video. But like, there's just something about like having a project and you like pull all the loops out. You know, it won't be like a 25-minute video, but we'll see. So that's the first project that's getting frogged. The second project that's getting frogged is yarn that is getting frogged for a second time now. So the first time that this yarn was used is when I was trying to do the fluorite socks. And I literally made like 5 rows of the toe, and then I was like, no, I'm done with this. So I repurposed the yarn and I started making my spring-bound mitts. And I don't think I had started on these last time. This is one of my Make 9 projects. And as you can see, so you can see here, it kind of goes up and then like dips in. Typically when you are knitting color work, you know, people recommend you either go up a needle size for that portion of the item, or you just pay really close attention to your gauge, or like your tension rather, not your gauge, your tension. And so I think that's what I was doing here, is I was, you know, like very careful about it, you know, so it's very loose. And then as I went on, I was like, oh, I've got this. I'm feeling really comfortable. And it became so tight. So like you can see here, nice stretch. Up here, so dense and so tight and no stretch. Which I think would have been fine for my wrists, but I'm just afraid that when it gets up to my hand, you know, they're gloves. Like you want them to be a little bit flexible. And so I'm just worried that they're not gonna have that. So they're gonna get the frog. The other thing too is I think I'd pick a higher contrast yarn next time. It actually doesn't look that bad. Actually doesn't look that bad like right now in the broad daylight, but I mean, this is fairly low contrast, even this part up here. So we'll see. And my plans for this, I think I'm gonna make the jelly rolls socks. I really want to give socks another try, just to have at least one finished pair. You know, I still need to go back and finish my Lynn socks. I have one sock finished on that, and I have another one on the needles, I think, like back in this project bag back here. But I think these are gonna be the jelly roll socks, and they're just like little shorty socks with 2 colors and like a rolled cuff. So I think they'll be really cute. So I think that's what I'm gonna do with this yarn. And then the last thing, I'm not gonna frog this item, but I do need to redo parts of it, is my Alexandria hat. So I told you guys, I think I told you guys last time, I really wanted to put a pom-pom on this hat. I love the hat. It just, the way that the bind off edge was, it just looked a little, I don't know, weird, like kind of like a belly button, which sounds so weird. And I was like, let me just cover that up with a pom-pom. And so I got this pom-pom. I love the combination, but I don't know if you guys can see this. This is not attached very well. I watched a whole video on how to attach pom-poms with these little loops. And as soon as I finished weaving in the ends, I went to pick it up and I was like, oh, that's not right. So I just need to cut the yarn that I used to like sew it on there and figure out a better method. I'm not sure what that is yet, so if you guys have recommendations, please let me know, because I mean, I watched, like I said, I watched a video and you come into the loop from all different angles and then you know, pull it down really tight and you weave in the ends, and that's what I did, and then as soon as I flipped it back right side out, it just looked so bad. So again, it's warm weather now, so I can't wear this now anyway. Also, side note, just recommend some summer patterns for me. I need to just go ahead and work on those so I can actually knit things that I can wear in the summer. I have like one tank top right now. But yes, that's getting adjusted in some form or fashion. Okay, so then as far as upcoming projects, so like I said, the jelly roll socks, that's going to be a new project. The Guthrie sweater. So I'm going to do a super low contrast version of the Guthrie sweater with these two yarns. The Guthrie sweater is by Boylan Knitworks, Caitlin Hunter, who is Boylan Knitworks on Instagram and Ravelry. And if you guys are familiar with the pattern, you will know that that's a DK weight pattern. These are fingering weight yarns. Well, I really wanted to use their more tweedy yarn. So like I said, like this is very solid, very even. This is very tweedy and rustic. And so I wanted to use this yarn, but they only offer this kind of yarn in fingering weight or worsted weight. And for me, because I'm usually knitting on the smaller end of the spectrum it's a lot easier for me to go down in yarn weight and up in pattern size versus going up in the yarn weight and down in the pattern size, because there's just not a lot of smaller pattern sizes for me. So that's the plan here. So yeah, it's gonna be really nice and low contrast and really pretty. The next project that I want to do is the Koibua sweater, also by Caitlin Hunter. And a lot of people on Instagram said that they had this on their to knit list as well. So if you have this on your to knit list as well, please comment below or send me a DM on Instagram. I think I want to start like a little mini knit along, mini cow for this project. I don't think it'll be super formal. There probably won't be any prizes or anything, but just as a way to encourage us to actually finish an object. So yes, I'm going to use these two yarns. This one will be the main color and this one will be the contrasting color. And that will be my Koibua sweater. Koibua. That's hard for me to say for whatever reason. And then the last project that's on the horizon, at least in this moment, that is very subject to change, is the Rift pullover by Jared Flood. It was one of my Make 9 patterns. It's a sweater, going to be a sweater for my husband. And I have all of this Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the Aurora Heather colorway. It's just like a really pretty forest green. And so that's going to be a Rift pullover for him. Okay, so that's everything as far as knitting content. So as far as life content, so like I said, we moved for my job at the end of January, and we were in temporary housing for a little bit. We bought and moved into our new townhouse about a month ago at the end of February. So we're definitely enjoying being more settled, and very thankful to have already gone through that process before, you know, stay-at-home orders and that kind of thing were issued. So almost everything's unpacked. We do have some kind of miscellaneous boxes that are sitting over here off camera that I will need to unpack at some point, or Tyler will need to unpack at some point. But for the most part, we're pretty settled. And now we're kind of trying to be more conscientious of actually decorating the new place. So like at our old house, we had our living room was painted like a very bright, bold teal, and we had this gorgeous canvas that my mom had painted us. But that was about it as far as decoration. So we're trying to like really establish our style, make sure that we're getting paint on the walls, make sure that we're getting art, make sure that we're getting decor and furniture pieces and that kind of thing. And so, so I did order some paint swatches from a company called Backdrop. They definitely, they targeted the right audience. They got me to shop via Instagram. So I ordered some swatches from them, and we will see which ones I like. I had a vision for our bedroom to be in a kind of dark grungy gray green. We have like black metal and gold accents kind of going on with the rest of the furniture. And here we have like a gold mirror, black bookshelf, you know, some pretty cool gold lamps, that kind of stuff. So that's the plan for the walls. And then for the rest of the house, I'm going to do kind of a lighter version of that green. And then for the ceilings in our bedroom, I have absolutely loved, this is probably too wild for some people. I have always loved whenever we've been to a restaurant, or like we went to the Biltmore house a couple years ago, and you know, in like all those old houses, they would have like ornate texture or some kind of design on the ceiling, and so I want to do wallpaper on our ceiling. I probably will not be the one to personally do the wallpaper on the ceiling because I'm sure I will mess it up, but that is the intention. So I'm excited to kind of pick out some cool stuff. I'm thinking something maybe like Art Deco. So we'll see. I'll definitely show you guys pictures as soon as that happens. So yeah, so as far as, you know, everything with COVID-19, North Carolina is under stay-at-home orders for the entire month of April. I am so fortunate to have a job that I can do while working from home, and I don't take that for granted. I know that a lot of people are not in that situation. So I ask that, you know, if you are in a good situation and you know of someone, or you know of a group of people that need help, I just encourage you to help them in any way you can. We donated to our local PTA for the elementary school that we're zoned for. There were a lot of kids that are on free and reduced lunch who no longer have access to that while the schools are closed. So we donated some money so they could buy groceries for those families. So I just encourage you to look for opportunities, you know, like that you could support. Again, another thing, Brooklyn Tweed is helping support their small business stockists by offering this sale. So that's another way you can support. It's been really encouraging to see the things that people are doing. And I just pray that we would, you know, continue to do that and continue to, you know, show what it is to be human and to love. And yeah, so definitely encourage you guys to do that. And I think that's all I have for this week. Like I said, I am going to try and start doing this on a weekly basis again. It just, you know, had been kind of hard with the move and the transition, and work has been extremely stressful. But last week was kind of like a turning point. So I think I will have the mental energy to do this again, because it's really fun and I really do enjoy it. And I hope you guys enjoy all of the show and tell projects and the miscellaneous rambling. As always, if there's anything that you guys would like to see more of, if there's stuff that you would like to see less of, I am open to any and all feedback. And so yeah, please let me know. And I think that's it. So I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.